Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Precious and this is Precious Reads. Today we'll be discussing the books that I read in January. The first book that I read was Sacrifice by K.T. Robert. This is a paranormal poly romance between a vampire named Malachi and a half vampire, or we assume she's half a vampire, named Mina, who's been given to Malachi by her father to marry as sort of a gift to cement the relationship between Malachi and her father, and to also keep Malachi under his control. I have an entire book review on this on my channel that you can find up here. And K.T. Robert, I really enjoyed it. It was really interesting, it was really good, it was really steamy, and we had a foursome. Never read that in a book. It was scandalous. The next book that I picked up was Richer Than God by Emily Wilde, and this book we follow Zeus and Bridget. This book has a ton of Hades and Persephone references. However, I did not enjoy this one in the least. I did not enjoy it at all. It was just so weird and so toxic and just not good. It wasn't good at all. So we meet a girl named Bridget who is running away from her family as they want to marry her off to a judge who's older and just not her cup of tea. And she's tired of the abuse from her family. She doesn't want to be used as a pawn or a sacrifice, so she decides to run away. However, she doesn't have any prospects. She doesn't have any further contingencies for her life. She has no plans because she was basically raised to be married off, but she doesn't want to be married off to this old man. So she runs away and she tries to get into this club. It is a sex club or a strip club or a voyeur club run by Zeus, who's notorious in this place called Olympus. Him and his brothers are very it's sort of like mafia but not, and she tries to get a job there. He hires her instead of I read romance for the romance. I read romance for the romance. I read romance for the tension, the banter, the coming together of two separate people. Just that whole process is very beautiful and lovely to watch. This was not. It was just terrible. He treated her poorly. He did weird things to her. It was horrible. It was horrible. I hated it. Moving on. A really enjoyable read that I picked up was Me and Somebody's Son by Christina C. Jones, and this follows August and Haven. Haven has sworn off relationships. She's not into long-term relationships. She just wants to have casual encounters with men and just nothing that will lock her down because she's been burnt before. Enter August, who was a friend of her ex-boyfriend in college, and off the bat she tells him, listen, you're my ex's best friend. Nothing's gonna happen between us. I find you attractive, but nothing's gonna happen. And August is like, yeah, that's okay, I understand. But he pursues her. This is really sweet. It was a nice novella. It was actually very funny. I loved the way August wooed her and the type of person that August was. He was a very driven person. He had his own businesses. He was written books. He wanted to open a nursery, and Haven sort of falls for that and finds it very attractive. And this was hilarious. It was short. It's a short novella. It is a black love novella, and I loved it and I recommend it to anybody. I want to read more by this author because this was really, really, really good, and I feel like there's more to the series. The next book that I picked up was The Office Party by Whitney G. This enemies to lovers, office romance, hilarious Christmas romance, sort of a Christmas romance, and we follow Garrett West and Savannah. Garrett West always has to have these elaborate parties around Christmas time for all of his employees. Employees don't want to be there, they don't want to be part of whatever this is. They want to spend time with their families, but they have to because this is their job. So they come to these parties. Garrett's right-hand woman has tried to sort of escape these parties on multiple occasions and has been caught. And it is hilarious. They have the best banter. It has been caught many times, and this time she can't run away because the Christmas party is going to be held at her grandmother's lodge, so she can't really run away from this one, and she has to spend Christmas with her horrible boss. This one was so funny. It was very, very funny. I love the banter between them. I love the little hatred and the tiffs they had, and I love the little twist in the end that, you know what, the employees didn't, you know, the employees, it wasn't just straight up hate for Garrett, who is the CEO. The hate was spread around and they spoke behind each other's backs. It was kind of funny, and it was so like very realistic to what actually happens in an office. So I love that. And I enjoyed that by Whitney G. So I tried to pick up another Whitney G book, which was called 2 Weeks Notice by Whitney G. We follow a girl who, Tara, who is down on her luck, and she is just having a really hard time. So she stops at this hotel where they have free breakfast, and she helps us out to the breakfast. She's not a customer or a guest at this hotel, but she sort of sneaks in and commandeers some of the breakfast. One day, the CEO is alerted to the inexplicable loss in money because of this, and he has to investigate. He finds out that she's been, you know, pillaging all his food for quite a long time. It's a free breakfast for her. She's kind of a struggling young graduate, and he offers her a job, and she is like over the moon. Finally, she has a job with a good salary. This is going to be amazing. Turns out Preston is a boss from hell. He is the boss from hell. The definition, you know, this gave me a lot of Devil Wears Prada vibes. Preston was basically Miranda Priestly, just the male form of Miranda Priestly. He had to have his coffee in a certain way. He had to have everything that he wanted had to be done in a particular manner, and it was hilarious. Tara, time and time again, she proved herself, but working with Preston over many years and a long period of time, it became very exhausting for her. So she decides to give her 2 weeks notice, and Preston does not accept this. There's fine print in her contract, and he calls on it, and the craziness begins there. This was very funny. This was like Devil Wears Prada, but yeah, Miranda Priestly swaps out for a man, but he was just as annoying and pushy and particular about his coffees. And I loved it in the end when she was just like messing with him. It was so good. Whitney G, I still want to read more by Whitney G because her books are really good. The next one that I picked up was The Villain by LJ Shin. I did a separate book review for this that you can find on my channel over here somewhere, and this follows Persephone and Cillian. Cillian is a wealthy business dude, entrepreneur, and Persephone is the sister of Cillian's brother's wife, so sister-in-law. And Persephone has always had a crush on Cillian, and he hasn't given her the time of day, and she gets into a lot of trouble and is going through a hard time, and the only person that she can think of who can assist her is Cillian, and she asks for help. This help does not come for free. This help does not come easily. It is a they have a very difficult understanding and situation in the beginning, but finally they've come to terms in order to help one another, because Cillian also needs some assistance and needs like a stand-in wife, and the craziness ensues there. This one was yeah, it was very good. It was a bit hard at times because he didn't let up on her. Like, it wasn't an easy romance, but it was really good. I love the angst, I love the tension, and I love that she finally, Persephone, in the end, she got a backbone and she stood up for herself, which I loved. The next book that I picked up was Sweet Temptation by Cora Riley. Now, I am not a mafia fan, but I have to say, Cora Riley's writing, Cora Riley's characters, Cora Riley's immersion in these mafia families as, you know, a reader was so well done, and I enjoyed it. There was a good combination of the mafia stuff compared to the romance. So Sweet Temptation by Cora Riley follows Gillian and Cassio. Gillian is a mafia princess. She's been brought up knowing that she's going to have to marry for the family in order to like secure and bond people within the family. So she is betrothed to Cassio. Cassio has lost his wife passed away, and he has 2 small children, a girl and a boy. The boy is 3 years old and the girl is like 10 months old when this story begins. So this is like being thrown on the deep end. Gillian is like 18, and she has to marry this older guy who has kids. It's not the perfect situation, but she does this because of her family. It is a duty. She's always been trained to do this. She is always going to become somebody's wife, not of her choosing. So she jumps into it headlong. Cassio is the one that takes a while to get into it because, you know, he's hung up on his past, about his wife, about the reason that she took her own life, and it is just crazy, and he needs to start accepting Gillian as a person and a member of her family, and she fights for it. She fights for those kids, she fights for her husband. This was amazing. I loved it. Cassio and Gillian were made for each other. I absolutely loved it. I picked up the book 2 in the Comora Chronicles. I'm not going by order. I'm going by the hero, and everybody on Goodreads is like, Nino's their favorite Falcone brothers. So I picked up the Comora Chronicles. I picked up book 2, which is Twisted Emotions. This follows Nino and Chiara. Chiara is also a mafia princess. However, her story is slightly different because her reputation has been tainted by her father. Her father was a traitor and killed, and in the process of being killed, he killed Chiara's mother. So she's an orphan and she's taken in by Julia's parents, and looked after. They're not really pleased about this because she's like a traitor's daughter, and she has a lot of issues because she knows that the mafia doesn't take kindly to traitors, and she feels like there's the stigma around her and about her, and something happens to her and she doesn't tell anybody except for Julia, and she doesn't inform anybody because she thinks it's going to look poorly on her as well, and she keeps it to herself. And then we are introduced to the Falcone brothers. We meet Nino and Remo and Fabiano, which is their enforcer. And the Falcones are in charge of the Las Vegas outfit, and the Chiara's family is in New York. So these two outfits have been butting heads for a while. However, there is a new threat coming out in the West called the Outfit, and they need to get it together so they'll be able to handle the outfit. So they decide to follow old traditions and marry someone from each clan in order to sort of fix relations. So Nino is made to marry Chiara. This was impeccable. These two people both come into this relationship with so many issues and so much past trauma that they have to work together to sort of get past. Nino was so patient, so kind, so gentle, so tender with Kiara, helping her feel, you know, part of the Falcone family, helping her get her strength back, because in the Falcone, they don't really work like other mafia families, you know. They want their women to be able to look after themselves. They want their women to be able to defend themselves, and he teaches her how to look after herself, defend herself, fight for herself, use a gun. And just, I think even the location and the way that where she was, like living with the Falcone brothers, they live in this mansion. They don't have people that work around them. They want to be on their own, and it's just these boys. It's like a frat house, and they basically eat pizza every day. They're very chilled. They have their own idiosyncrasies, and like Remo's very rough, and Salvio's really, you know, outspoken, and Adalmo's more docile, and, you know, helps Kiara assimilate more. But just those different kind of personalities and all these men under one roof sort of made her stronger. I thought it was for the best. Just the whole setting was really, really good for her. And Nino, oh, Nino is my cinnamon roll. Nino is my favorite character at the moment. He's like my favorite characters. The way he was so good for Kiara, stunning. Twisted emotions. Currently my #1 favorite book of 2021. I know it's only January, but that is my favorite book. I picked up one other book this month, and that's The Pool Boy by Nikki Sloan. This is an age gap romance between Erica and Troy. Erica is the older woman. She's a divorcee. Her husband cheated on her, and she got a divorce, subsequently got a divorce, and now she's trying to build up her life and trying to get out there again. And she meets Troy. She's always known Troy. He's the pool boy, but she hasn't really seen him, you know, until they have an interaction in the pool shed, and things evolved from there. I love that there was more to Troy. He wasn't just this young, angsty, you know, guy. He knew where he was going. He didn't share it with his family, but he knew he had a goal. He wanted to do something. He wanted to be creative, and it just happened that Erica is in the same industry and could help him, and this was so beautiful. Troy's mother really got on my nerves. She was Erica's friend. Yes, I understand that it's kind of stepping over boundaries that Erica's dating her son, but at the same time, she was not very understanding of her son's wants and needs and his future, and just forcing things onto him. I'm not a parent. I don't know how that is. I don't know how that works, but it was kind of really shitty. But I did enjoy The Pool Boy. This one was really good. It was a different age gap. Usually it's always the man that's older, and this one was the woman was older than him, but he was still mature. Troy was very mature, and they again helped each other. It's a relationship. They both brought something to the relationship, and it worked. It was so good. The next book that I picked up was A Sign of Appreciation, Volume 1 by Swoon. It was available on Kindle Unlimited, so I just decided to pick it up. It is about a girl who has hearing impairment, and one day she's on a train and somebody tries to get her attention. He's asking for directions, but he doesn't know that she has a hearing issue, and a nice stranger helps her, gives the guy directions, and then she notices him in school. She has a little crush on him, a little pitter-patter of her heart. It was really cute, and I want to read more volumes. I just happened to read one volume and I forgot about it instead of getting more, because the Kimura Chronicles just sort of like captured me. They enraptured me. I loved all the books that I read this month. I did DNF one book. It was a Katie Robert book called Abel. Just couldn't get into it. I just couldn't get into it. Abel was annoying to me. Like most of the characters were annoying to me. I didn't know what was the actual plots. Where were they going? What was the point? Where were they? Is this a dystopian? I was very, very confused. I had no idea. So I DNF'd it like 40 something %, and maybe I'll get back to it at another time, but right now, no. So those are the books that I read this month, and thank you for joining me. If there's any recommendations for more mafia romances similar to The Born in Blood and the Camorra Chronicles, please kindly put them in the comment section below. I would appreciate it, because prior to reading the Camorra Chronicles, I disliked mafia romances. I read something called Tarnished Empire, and I read something else, and it was just like shoot 'em up style, weird nonsense, and the main character, the female, the heroine, was so ridiculously silly and stupid and did stupid stuff, so it really annoyed me. But in the Camorra Chronicles, okay, I've only read like 2 of the books. Who do I think I am? Let's read more before I make a final decision. But already Kiara and Julia are they're very impressionable, and they're very memorable characters. Kiara was memorable because she started off as very fragile, but she evolved to become stronger than what she was. She never thought, and I didn't think, that she would, become what she did in the end. It wasn't a drastic, like she became a jujutsu fighting, but she became somebody who can stand up to, first of all, Remo. And I loved that. And Julia had always had the sunny disposition. She dressed in quirky ways, even though Cassio, who had a more domineering personality compared to her, was trying to bully her and mold her into this, what he thinks a mafia princess should look like. And she was like, no, I don't know. This is me. You shall take me as I am. And she kept that personality, that strong personality, without being antagonistic, which is what I like. She wasn't very combative, but she kept who she was. She loved her dresses with her flowers. She loved her sunflower earrings. She kept all of that stuff, but without being very combative, and I loved that. I loved the characters, all of the characters in these books that I read by Cora Riley, and I'm so excited to get into more Cora Riley. So these are the books that I picked up in January. I hope to continue my love affair with romance next month, especially in the month of love. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.